Here come the kids. All right. Good spot. You know, it can seem like there really are a lot of rules that we have to follow in life, aren't there? Here at church, we've got rules about when to stand up and when to sit down and when we have to talk and when we have to be quiet and what we're supposed to say when we talk. At school, there's all kinds of rules. Again, when to sit down, where to sit down, when you're allowed to go play, who you're allowed to be with, what you're allowed to say and when, and all of that. At home, there are rules. I mean, rules like you got to eat your vegetables before you can have dessert, and you got to pick up your toys, and no interrupting the adults when they're talking, and on and on and on. It can seem like life is just only about all of those rules. But the important thing to remember is that those rules are only a tool. The rules are supposed to help us learn the thing that life is really about, and that's love. Good rules always help us learn that lesson. Help us learn how to not hurt each other and to treat each other with respect. How to take our turn so that everybody gets to do what they need to do in good order. That's not an easy thing to remember because the world pushes the rules more than it pushes that idea of love. And if all the grown-ups in this room, your moms and your dads and everybody else, are honest with you guys, they will admit that it's as hard for them to remember that the rules aren't the be-all and end-all either. And that's where you guys come in. I need your help. I need your help to teach mom and dad and grandma and grandpa and everybody else that the rules are not the end of the story. They're only the beginning. They teach us how to get to the most important thing, and that's that act of love. This week, we're going to celebrate Valentine's Day, and that means for those of you at school and all, you're probably going to get some candy and some Valentine cards, and you're going to be asked to tell people, I love you. I'm asking you, show them that you love them. Show them that thing that is more important than anything else. Show them that we are made for love and not just for the rules that get us there. Okay? All right, let's go get some stamps. Thank you. Yeah, there's always enough love for two. Go. Everybody there? All right. I'm going to be honest with you all that the lectionary texts today, when I first looked at them, my first thought was, gee, I wonder if I can get somebody else to do the sermon. And then I started talking with other priests out there, and they were all thinking the same thing, which means that I'm here. Especially that gospel lesson that makes us squirm. Now, you all were a little quieter at the 8:30 service. While I was reading that gospel lesson, I actually heard people going, But I could still feel the uncomfortable tension all around. This lesson ought to make us uncomfortable. It ought to make us squirm. And I'm just going to admit that I don't know entirely what to do with it. But I think I know some things not to do with it. Some people take this text we've just read from Matthew's Gospel and they interpret it to mean that, well, Jesus is making it so hard that we can then come to an understanding that the rules really don't matter at all, and that we can't call anything a sin because everything is a sin. And that is clearly, I think, not what he's up to. There are times when we have to name sin for what it is. So let's rule out that possible interpretation. Now, on the other side, then, we can become obsessed with all of the many ways in which we sin, recognizing that it's not just you who sins, but I sin, and everything I do and think about can possibly be a sin. And the tradition of the church calls that scrupulosity and labels that as well as sin. When we get so obsessed in guilt over everything we think or say or do that we can't see ourselves as innately good, then we've walked too far away from God as well, in a different direction. So it's not acceptable for us to say, well, this means I can't say anything about sin, and it's not acceptable for us to go this other extreme and make everything that happens in our life somehow sinful. And that means the truth has to be somewhere in that messy, uncomfortable middle ground. I think, maybe, that the key to understanding what Jesus is doing in our gospel lesson is for us to step back from the details and look more generally. The key is to remember that Jesus is coming to us in the tradition of Moses, who puts before us the choice of life and death. Now, at first, that looks like a binary choice, life or death, just like it looked like maybe we would have to pick either nothing's a sin or everything's a sin. But life is messy and complex, and certainly not binary. That's the reason why sociology is a far harder science than physics will ever be. You cannot predict human behavior with a mathematical equation, no matter how hard you might try. We are messy and complex. And I think that's what Jesus is trying to tell us. The rabbis have a tradition about the law, about the Torah. They say that you've got to rub the Torah until it bleeds. That is, until it comes alive, takes on flesh, becomes something that you can be intimate with, relate to. And I think that's what Jesus is trying to get us to do. You see, like I was saying to the kids earlier with our lists of rules, we like to turn rules into easy checklists. Over here, all the good things. Over here, all the bad things. And I just check the list, and as long as my balance sheet has more checks on this side than that side, I'm doing all right. But that's not relationship or intimacy. That's simply a quick and easy way to get out of relationship and intimacy. Jesus wants us to see the rules for what they are. The choice of living a life as we were created, that is, for love. When you love, all of the things on the checklist fade away. Because what's important is the one that you love, and not harming that one, caring for that one, being present to that one. We are made for this love. We are made to love one another. We are made to love God. We are even made to love ourselves. And in order to do that, you've got to get past the rules without just dismissing them. The law exists to teach us and to point the way. And then, like all good maps, at some point in time, it gets to be set down. That, I think, is what Jesus is calling us to do, to recognize the rules for what they are. God has let God's yes be a yes to us. A yes that finds its fullest expression in the cross, where the one who gave the law is indeed rubbed so much that he bleeds. He comes alive, embodies the kind of love that he wants us to find under all of the rules. Leads us to the kind of love where our yes becomes a yes to that incredible messiness that is life. St. Paul, in our epistle lesson today, talks about the difference of milk and solid food. The milk of the rules is the place we start. The solid food of an adult faith is where we're called. And on this day, God calls to us again in love to make our own yes to the love that made us and that sends us to love